All right, so today we are going deep,
Deep.
yeah, into a part of American history that I think a lot of people, maybe they heard about it in high school, but they don't really, it's not something that's really focused on.
Yeah.
And that's the Philippine American War.
It's a Philippine American War, yeah.
You might even be thinking,
Oh, yeah, totally.
wait, the U.S. fought in the Philippines. Like,
Yeah, like when, how.
what is this, right?
Yeah.
But this is not just some like thing that happened. Like this was
This is a big one.
a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to really dig into this, we've got some really cool stuff to look at.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot.
We have some diaries from soldiers.
Social accounts, love it.
Oh yeah, firsthand accounts. Yeah, and then
You know what else is really cool?
what's that?
We got some newspaper articles from that time.
Oh wow. Okay, so this is like,
Yeah, the heat of the moment.
oh yeah, like right when it's all happening.
Primary sources, yeah, those are great.
Right when all this stuff is going down and like.
Oh, and there's one more thing.
What's that?
We got some clips from a historical podcast, too.
Oh, cool.
I listened to it. I thought it was really fascinating.
Oh, awesome.
So we can kind of like compare and contrast some of these perspectives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we jump into all that,
Sure.
we need to introduce like the main guy on the Filipino side.
Okay, lay it on me.
So his name is Emilio Aguinaldo.
Emilio Apolinario.
Yeah, and so this guy,
I've heard that name.
yeah, he was leading a revolution against Spain.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
For a little bit, he thought the U.S. was on his side.
Oh,
Yeah, it gets
I can see where this is going.
messy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think about, right? Because back then,
Yeah.
I mean, most Americans, they couldn't even like find the Philippines on a map.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, it wasn't just about a few islands, right?
Yeah.
This was the U.S. like becoming a world power.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a big statement.
A big statement. Yeah, and it caused a lot of debate back in the U.S.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So to really kind of set the scene, think about it. It's like the late 1890s,
The 1890s. Okay.
and the U.S. is finally like pulling itself out of this
Brutal.
this really bad economic depression.
Nobody wants another war.
No, nobody wants a war. You're right.
Except maybe for
Who?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Even before he was president.
Yeah.
This guy loved naval power.
Oh yeah.
He was obsessed, and he saw the Philippines
Yes.
as like a huge opportunity.
Yeah, he was ready to.
Huge.
He wanted to get in there.
Oh, yeah, he was like, this is it. This is our moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like he was just like itching for a fight.
You know what? Some sources even say
Yeah.
he was giving orders that he wasn't supposed to.
What?
Yeah, causing all sorts of chaos, even way back then.
What?
It's almost like he was
Like a rogue agent.
like a one-man interventionist think tank.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the U.S. that doesn't really want to go to war.
Right.
We've got this guy who's like power hungry,
Gung-ho.
Yeah, gung-ho, ready to go.
So what's the thing that sets everything off?
Yeah, what's that spark?
Well, the sinking of the USS Maine
Oh, yeah.
in Havana Harbor.
Yeah.
Now, the cause of that is still debated today.
Right.
But the newspapers,
Oh, yeah.
they went crazy.
Oh, I bet.
One headline even said, "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain."
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Right, like today.
Yeah, it's like those crazy, like, tabloid headlines,
Yeah, exactly.
but with,
Higher stakes.
way higher stakes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So public opinion just changed like that
Why?
overnight.
Wow.
Suddenly, it seemed like war with Spain was unavoidable.
Inevitable, yeah. So, in all this, where does Aguinaldo
Yeah.
and his guys fit in?
So Aguinaldo sees this as an opportunity, right?
Okay.
He's got his own revolution going on against Spain,
Yeah.
and he's thinking, hey, maybe these Americans, they can help us get rid of these colonizers for good.
Right.
It's like this classic case
Yeah.
of temporary allies with totally different goals.
Totally different goals, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So then the Battle of Manila Bay happens.
Exactly.
Oh,
The U.S. Navy, led by Commodore Dewey,
Yeah.
they just crushed the Spanish fleet.
wow.
It was a huge victory.
Wow.
I mean, Dewey became a national hero overnight.
Really? Just like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could find pictures of him on everything.
What? Like what?
Cigar boxes, sheet music, even a brand of canned oysters.
Wow, really?
Yeah, instant celebrity,
Wow.
fueled by all the media frenzy.
Wow. That's incredible.
It makes you wonder, like, did people even stop and think
Yeah.
about
Long term.
what this all meant, what it meant for the future?
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
So for Aguinaldo, though,
Yeah.
this must have been bittersweet.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
because the U.S. is now in the perfect spot to take control of the Philippines.
Right.
And his whole dream of independence, that's
looking shaky.
looking pretty bad.
Yeah, and you got to remember, too,
Yeah.
Aguinaldo and his revolutionaries, they had already set up a government.
Really?
Yeah, they had a constitution,
Oh, wow.
an army, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
They were ready for self-rule.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
So does the U.S. just, nope?
Nope.
Not even close.
What happens? What happens next is, well, some historians call it the betrayal.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the U.S. and Spain, they secretly agreed to keep Aguinaldo and his forces out of the final battle for Manila.
Seriously?
Yeah, they completely cut him out.
Wow. Yeah.
Imagine being Aguinaldo.
Yeah.
You've been fighting for your nation's freedom. For years, you team up with the U.S.
Right, thinking they're going to help.
Exactly. And then, bam, you're sidelined.
Wow.
The city falls to the Americans.
Oh, my God.
And the Filipinos, they're left wondering, what just happened?
Yeah.
What just hit them?
Yeah. That's rough.
Talk about a slap in the face.
Yeah, it really is.
And this is where it all falls apart.
Yeah.
The alliance crumbles, and this sets the stage for a whole new conflict.
Yeah, the Philippine American War.
Exactly, the Philippine American War.
It's kind of crazy how this, like, totally changes, like, everything, you know?
Right. It's a turning point.
Yeah.
Not just for the war, but for how the U.S. interacts with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
They've had this taste of imperial power.
Right.
And they're not ready to let go.
I see. Wow, this is already
That's a lot.
Really intense, and we're just getting started.
Just getting started. We've got simmering tensions, conflicting ambitions.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of betrayal.
Whole lot of betrayal. Yeah. I'm hooked. This is good.
I'm glad. It's a fascinating story.
Yeah, it really is.
I think you're really going to enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
And the Filipinos, I mean, they weren't just going to,
give up.
Yeah, this wasn't like some, small little rebellion.
Right.
They were organized. Okay. They knew what they were doing.
Right.
And they had home field advantage.
Yeah, so how does this go from like, allies to like enemies? Like, how does that actually happen?
Oh.
Like, how does that go down?
Or the first shots between American and Filipino soldiers, it was the night of February 4th, 1899.
Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine like the confusion, the sense of betrayal on the Filipino side?
Yeah.
Just a few months before, they thought
they were free?
They were free. They'd won, and now they're facing a new enemy. The very force that they thought was there to liberate them.
It's crazy how quickly that can change, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
We've got actually an account here.
Oh, yeah.
From a Filipino soldier.
Okay.
Who was there that night.
Wow.
And he talks about, the fear.
Oh, yeah.
The sound of the gunfire.
In the darkness.
Yeah, in the darkness. And just like the realization that, like, everything they'd fought for.
Gone.
It's gone, yeah.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you that, we talk about these big historical events.
Right.
But it always comes down to people.
Yeah.
Like individual lives that are, changed forever.
Forever changed. Yeah.
This wasn't just, empires clashing. This was hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And, just the brutal reality of war.
Yeah, and I'm curious. So back in the U.S., like, did people even know this was happening?
Well, that's where it gets even more complicated.
Okay.
You see, the American public, they're mostly told this story of, the U.S. is there to help to bring civilization progress.
That they need help,
to these, quote, backward people.
Oh, wow.
They didn't see the Filipino Constitution.
Right.
They didn't know about the government they had set up.
Yeah, the functioning government.
They didn't understand the Filipinos' desire for self-rule.
It's just that whole white savior.
The classic white savior narrative.
Yeah, and it's kind of...
It's crazy.
Scary how that still exists today.
Yeah, how some things never change.
So the newspapers, I bet they were...
Oh, they were full of it.
Oh, yeah.
Articles talking about, the Filipino savages who needed to be uplifted and Christianized.
It's hard to read that now.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
But it's important.
It's important to see,
to understand how this kind of thinking shaped public opinion and, how they justified the war.
So how did the war actually, like, go down?
Well, it wasn't the quick and easy win that the U.S. thought it would be.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. The Filipinos, they knew the land.
Right.
They used guerrilla tactics.
Okay.
They were a tough opponent.
So the U.S. military wasn't used to that?
No. not at all. Okay, they were used to fighting in lines.
Right.
You know, the traditional way.
Yeah.
This was a whole new kind of fight.
So they were probably pretty frustrated.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And you know what happens when you get frustrated?
What?
You start doing things you might not normally do.
Oh, no. What do you mean?
Well, they started using some pretty brutal tactics to try to put down the rebellion.
Oh, wow. This is where it gets dark.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
We've got some accounts from American soldiers.
Right.
And they're really hard to read.
I bet.
Talk about burning villages.
Wow.
Torture, executions.
It's clear that this war really took its toll.
On everybody.
On everyone, yeah.
Yeah.
But both sides.
One of the,
yeah.
I guess, one of the things that really kind of shows this, like, is Intramuros.
Intramuros, okay.
So it's this walled city within Manila.
Okay.
And it was almost like this, you know,
like a
microcosm of the whole conflict.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you've got the Spanish who are still clinging to power.
Right.
And you've got the Filipino civilians who are just caught in the middle.
Caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, and then the American troops who are trying to take control.
Right.
It's like it was just waiting to explode.
A powder keg.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And when it did explode,
yeah,
it was a huge turning point in the war.
Yeah.
The Battle of Manila, August 13th, 1898.
A turning point, but also like a big disagreement, right?
A point of contention.
Yeah.
Because the U.S., working with the Spanish, took control of the city really fast.
Oh, okay.
But they did it by purposely leaving out Aguinaldo's forces.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean...
Like what? Just rub it in even more.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Yeah, really?
The Americans, I mean, they saw it as a strategic move.
Right. I get it. Yeah.
But for the Filipinos, it was just another betrayal. I mean, they had been fighting alongside the U.S.
Yeah.
They thought they had this shared goal.
Yeah. Beat Spain.
Exactly. Defeat Spain.
Yeah.
And then...
It left out.
They're left out of the victory they helped win.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that must have felt like.
Right. It's no wonder that this just fueled their resistance even more.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, this wasn't just about land anymore.
Right.
It was about pride.
The dignity?
Dignity. Their right to decide their own future.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is where the whole war really changed.
So from what?
From a fight against Spain to a fight for independence.
Yeah.
A fight against the very power they once believed was going to free them.
It's kind of sad how it all escalated. Yeah, how like a misunderstanding or just like power
Dynamics.
Yeah, it led to so much like violence.
It really is.
And as we go into like the last part, this whole thing, it's important to remember that like this war, like the effects of it
echoes.
Yeah, they're still around today.
They are.
Like we still see this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like colonialism and
the debates about interventionism.
Right, and just like
cultural clashes.
Yeah, just like I mean, these are all things that are still happening today. It's like we're still dealing with the fallout from this war.
Yeah, it's true. So this war it's raging on, but it's not just like, you know, people shooting at each other.
No, you're right. It was a war of ideas too.
Oh, okay, like what?
Well, you had the Filipinos, right? Fighting for their independence, the right to run their own country, you know.
Okay, yeah.
And then on the other side, you have the United States.
Yeah.
And they're like this new global power.
And they're trying to figure out, like, what does it even mean to be an empire?
Yeah, I can see how that would be.
It's a new role for them.
Yeah, totally new.
Yeah.
Back in the U.S., though, like, were people even on board with this whole war?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
There were all these groups popping up,
yeah.
Anti-imperialist groups, and they were saying that the U.S. was basically betraying its own ideals.
How so?
Well, they were saying, you know, the U.S. is supposed to be about freedom, liberty, all that.
Right, yeah.
And here they are, subjugating another people.
It's kind of hypocritical.
Yeah, you could definitely see it that way.
Yeah.
And some big names were speaking out against it, too, like Mark Twain.
Oh, wow.
Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah, those are...
Yeah, some heavy hitters.
Yeah, some big names.
Yeah, so it was a big debate.
It's kind of crazy, though, right?
What's that?
Like... These arguments that they were having over 100 years ago,
right?
They still, like, matter today.
Oh, they're totally relevant.
Right? Like when we talk about, you know, getting involved in other countries' affairs.
Interventionism, yeah.
Yeah, and nation building. Like, it's
like history repeating itself.
Yeah, it really is.
The Philippine American War.
Yeah.
It's like this reminder that good intentions, they don't always lead to...
good outcomes.
No. Not always. Sometimes they lead to
messy outcomes.
Messy outcomes, yeah. And it shows you what can happen when you like underestimate cultural differences.
Right.
And the whole idea of colonialism, it's
complex.
It's complicated.
Something that really stuck with me were some of the letters from American soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Who were actually over there.
Yeah, the ones who were actually fighting.
Yeah, fighting in the Philippines. And it's not just like, here's what I did today. It's like they're raw, personal accounts of
like you're right there with them.
Yeah. It's what was really like
in the trenches.
Yeah, and seeing all this brutality.
And they talk about burning villages, using torture.
Yeah, and you can just you can tell that they're struggling with the morality of it all.
Yeah, they're questioning the whole mission.
Yeah, and it really it makes it more than just names and dates. It's
it's human. It's human.
Real people.
Yeah, it humanizes it. And you realize that history isn't just about presidents and generals making decisions.
It's about how it affected people.
It's about the people whose lives are changed forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of those decisions.
And it wasn't just the soldiers, right?
No.
What about the Filipino people?
Oh, I mean, the sources we have, they describe just widespread suffering.
Wow.
Families who lost their homes.
Yeah.
Their livelihoods.
Yeah.
The war, it touched every part of their lives.
It's really sad because we always talk about the people who died in battle.
Right.
But we don't always talk about the
other
the other people who were affected.
The casualties beyond the battlefield.
Yeah. Yeah. And their stories are important too.
They are.
So what happens after?
Well, I mean, the war eventually ends.
Yeah.
But the legacy of it all,
yeah.
It's complicated.
How so?
For the Philippines, it meant that their independence was delayed.
Oh, well.
And they ended up being dependent on the U.S. for a long time.
And for the U.S.?
For the U.S., it was a big moment.
Okay.
It showed them that they were a global power.
Yeah.
And it set the stage for how they would get involved in other conflicts in the future.
But even with all the bad stuff, there were some good things that came out of it, right?
There were moments of hope.
Yeah, I read about...
Like what?
Filipino and American soldiers becoming friends.
Yeah, finding common ground.
Yeah, even though they were fighting each other.
It's a good reminder that even in war, people can find ways to connect.
So I guess as we're wrapping up, I keep thinking, what are we supposed to do with all this,
It's a good question.
How do we take this history and, make sense of it?
Make sense of it, yeah.
In today's world.
I think it starts with acknowledging what happened, not trying to hide from the uncomfortable parts.
Right.
And it's about listening to the voices that haven't been heard.
Right, the voices that have been silenced.
Exactly. Yeah. Understanding the different perspectives that shaped this whole conflict.
Yeah. And I guess also learning from our mistakes, right?
Exactly. Recognizing the patterns that keep popping up throughout history.
It's about asking ourselves the tough questions.
Right.
About power.
Yeah.
And how we use it.
How we get involved in other countries.
Yeah.
And the legacy of colonialism.
That it still affects us today.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all connected.
This whole deep dive, it hasn't just been about, learning about this forgotten war.
No.
It's been about,
challenging our assumptions.
Yeah, and
expanding our understanding.
Yeah, of how the world works.
Exactly.
I hope that this has left you with
some questions.
Yeah, some questions.
Something to think about.
Yeah, because that's what history is all about, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just memorizing facts.
Right.
It's about really thinking about it.
Grappling with it.
Yeah, all the different sides.
Yeah, the nuances.
Yeah, and how it's still relevant today.
The echoes of the past.
Yeah.
That we still see in the present.
Well, thanks for coming on this journey with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm glad we could do this.
Me too.
Yeah, this was a good one.
It was a good one. A lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Yeah.
And keep searching for those stories that help us understand the world around us.
I like that. And to all our listeners out there,
yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.
See you later.